I'm excited about that.
So if we're sharing a lot today on this ministry of encouragement, I can't encourage you if I'm not encouraged.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how do you encourage yourself? What do you do, Micah, to encourage yourself? What's some things you do?
Well, it may sound counterproductive. When I'm trying to encourage myself, the first thing I realize is I've got to get rid of the discouragement. So the doubts, the depression, and the way I drive that stuff back in me always is worship. So, and I say worship, it can be all sorts of songs, but I'll go to YouTube and I'll find one of my favorite things and play it. And that's my way of driving back discouragement to encourage myself.
Probably 40 years ago, an elder preacher, he's elder than his brother, H. Richard Hall, but Brother Hall told me about 40 years ago, I was just a young preacher. He said, son, I see the anointing of God on your life, the call of God on your life, and he said, I see a desire to live clean, to be right with God. He said, but no matter how much you love God, there's a devil to fight. You're going to face discouragement things. He said, keep you 1 or 2 meetings. He said, you're going to be evangelist for a season. And I did it for about 20 years, but he said, keep you 1 or 2 meetings 6-8 months ahead. And he said, not for them people, for you. He said, then whatever you hit, if you hit something, say, well, I'm just going to quit. I can't do this. I'm hurt. He said, whatever you hit, he said, you're going to be committed to the Lord. You'll finish that meeting. He said, the time you get to that, you'll have the victory back. You won't even think of your storm. So one way to encourage yourself is keep some commitments. You know, I'm going to keep my family in church. Just commit to it. I'm going to keep my family in church. I remember as a kid, the little family I went to church with, and Dad quit, and Mom quit, and the kids come for 2 months and they quit. And wasn't long till the young man was in prison and died in prison. And it would have been a whole different, I know the story would have been different if Daddy would have stayed in church. I know the story would have, my friend would have not died in prison if Daddy would have stayed in church. Some of these stories are so touchy because it's people I know and people I love. But have some commitments. That's one way. Another way, I literally on my phone in my notes, I have down stories that God's moved, answers of prayers. Then when I get a little weary, I say, but the devil says, God ain't going to move this time. It ain't going to turn around. I read, but devil, he did this and this and this. Time I get to 3 or 4 of my faith, it said, yeah, I'm in good hands. God will take care of me. I like to read about Abraham's and Paul's stories, but I like to read about Anthony's stories, where I know that God's moved in my life. So I encourage myself. I believe David encouraged himself at Ziklag by remembering what had killed the bear and the lion and Goliath. How God, the Lord is my shepherd. He's been good to me.
We had, I don't know, you could feel faith stir up in Sunday school. We had a young Canaan. He was talking about, he was praying for his grandfather, but he said his grandfather had COVID so bad he was coughing up a lot of blood. And he said just seeing the progress already. And, you know, when people give up, and I don't know, little stories, you talk about yourself stories, current stories, if people would put them in the comments now just to encourage one another. God is still working today.